Hello legends, Elder here. Welcome to Veloharmony. I decided to go ahead and get caught up on some requests. We have a request that came from, I had it mixed up the last video I did with the expensive bike theme, and I thought it was Jake Desart. It wasn't Jake, it was Matthew Brooks that had suggested the idea about our expensive bikes necessary. So Jake's request centered around Grupo, Campy Grupo, and so he wants to have me go through how Campy works, why I use it, why does it work for my style of riding, why did I pick it over Shimano and other things like that, the other groups that are out there, and just go through what's available for Campy. So he was very specific, and that kind of helped me in a way, but then it created a dilemma because I couldn't put it all in the video. So what I'm doing is adding this with 69 Slim. Also wanted to know, he wants to upgrade from Shimano, I think 4700 Tiagra to 105. And his thing was, is it necessary? Which is always a red herring, that kind of question. Anyway, I decided to use my website. I have a blog already that I had before I started this YouTube, and I had waned from using it as much, and I'm going to pick it back up because it's the perfect vessel for putting all the information about something in addition to this video. I can embed the video in there. I did that when Loopy 007 asked, after I put out the expensive bike video, he said he wanted some eye candy, and that thing, the light bulb went off. So he wanted pictures and other things. So I put that on that site, embedded the video, and just realized that this was a perfect mode to move into to take us to the next level. So the videos that require it, I will use a blog to give the entire history of everything in addition to the videos that you guys love. And so I'm doing it with this one. So I already have a blog out there written. It wasn't practical to do everything about all the group sets. It would just been too huge. So what I did all of Campy, and then I talked about how they compare and where they compare along the other competitors and their ranges. So we want to start today with talking about the entry-level Campagnolo group today is called Veloci, okay? And Veloci actually competes with Shimano 105, which is what 69 Slim is considering upgrading to from Tiagra. So Veloci comes in silver and anodized aluminum. There's no carbon in Veloci. Veloci is the only 10-speed group set that Campagnolo has today, okay? It has the EPS style shifters. And the EPS style shifters, I'm going to show you pictures of it here while I talk about it so you can appreciate what I'm talking about, because this is the EPS style shifter. You see how they slope down? This is the standard mechanical shifter that Campagnolo makes. You see how they're at 90 degrees. Okay. Now, those EPS style shifters, the only groups that Campy has that has EPS is Chorus, Record, and Super Record. They have electronic shifters on those. The rest of the Grupos do not have EPS. They're not offered by Campy. So what they did is they took that technology from the big brothers and they brought it down all the way down to these little guys. They made it snake that way because there is a function in EPS where you can hold with your thumb and keep it on that shifter to keep it shifting, so you don't have to click. You just press it and hold it, and it will just keep shifting. When you're doing successive shifts, you want to go through a lot of shifts at once with EPS. So they use that shape to make it easier for you to rest your thumb on it. The one that I showed you that is at 90 degrees, which is what I have, are for the mechanical groups, the big boys, Record, Chorus, Super Record, all of them, they use the regular 90-degree kind. That one you have to click, and it does have another feature that allows you to go multiple gears. The reason why they did not use that sloping shifter in the mechanical group is that sloping shifter does not allow you to use the function that lets you go 5 gears harder at once. That's one of the features of the other guys. We'll get into that, but I had to mention that here. That's the reason, because that function in Veloci, Athena, and Potenza is not available, meaning you can only shift harder 1 gear at a time. Whereas the other big boys, you can shift 5 gears at a time harder and 3 gears at a time easier. That's really nice to have. Anyway, we'll get into that later. So Veloci has no carbon. Veloci is silver and anodized aluminum. Its crank arm is called power torque, the bottom bracket crank. There is a difference. The power torque has one solid shaft that is connected to the drive side crank. And that one solid shaft is connected to the left side crank. The ultra torque, which is used on the higher groups, uses a split shaft that uses what is called a hearth joint. A hearth joint does not belong to Campy. That's a mechanical technology that uses teeth like that mesh, almost like gears. And then they use a bolt to tighten that. So that is just something that's available universally. It was invented by somebody. That's why it's called Hertz. It's named after the inventor. But that's the main difference between power torque and the ultra torque. So power torque is used on Veloci. Power torque is used on the next group I'm going to go to, which is Athena. Athena is the next group that was produced by Campy to compete with Ultegra and the SRAM Force. Veloci, I don't know if I mentioned, is competing with 105 and SRAM Rival. I don't know if I mentioned that. I want to put that in. Athena competes with Ultegra and SRAM Force. Athena has carbon and aluminum offerings, and the aluminum offerings are anodized and silver. It uses the same power torque I just explained about. It have the same EPS style shifters that I showed you. But Athena is the only group in the Campy line that offers a triple. So it has a regular 2-chain ring, and it has a triple. That's the only group that gives you 33 gears. There's a triple that works with 11 speed on the back, so you get 33 gears. Okay. After Athena, Campagnolo recently produced a group called Potenza. Potenza sits between Athena and Chorus. Chorus and Potenza are called the performance groups. Okay, the entry-level groups are Veloci and Athena, and then the performance group is Potenza and Chorus. Potenza uses the EPS style shifter that I showed you, and it also uses the same power torque crank, but it has carbon. Okay, Chorus sits between, as far as it's competing with the other guys, it sits between Ultegra and Dura Ace. So a lot of the Campy folks feel that Chorus is good enough to compete with Dura Ace and even SRAM Red within the Campy circles. But, you know, other people tend to disagree. But basically because Campy aficionados feel that record and super record are at a different level. So Chorus sits up there, but then Potenza costs less than Ultegra and the SRAM Force, so that price-wise, Potenza is in a position to steal some business away from the mid-level groups of the competitors. Whereas Chorus sits between that mid-level group and the red group as far as Campy is concerned. And people feel that they're just as good. Now, Potenza and Chorus borrow some of the technologies from the big boys, like this the new 4-arm crank set instead of the 5 they used to have. This is much stiffer carbon that connects directly to the chain rings, gives everything just a different feel. So Campy trickled that down as far as Potenza. When you go lower than Potenza, Athena and Veloci, they have the old 5-arm style crank arm. Now, Chorus basically is the first group that has EPS in Campy. Chorus has EPS, Record has EPS, and Super Record has EPS, the electronic shifting. The electronic shifting groups all cost more than the mechanical group. As far as the looks, they use the same crankset and so forth, but because of the electronic shifter, the derailleur, they're different. And of course the ergo power. They have that snaking thing that I showed you, the snake and thumb shifter for the harder gears and for the chainring. That keeps everything, the prices are on a different level, higher than all the mechanical counterparts. So After chorus, which was introduced with EPS, you go to record. Record now has more carbon than chorus. Chorus has a little more, chorus is just a little heavier. It's not really significant, but it's the function. You get what you pay for. As you go higher up, they're more precise, bottom line. So it's really a trade-off. You have to decide what groups work for your budget. Okay, record performs better than chorus. Super record is at another level, but it's very close to record. Because super record has even more carbon and more titanium. They lighten everything they could possibly lighten. You know, that's the star. So the super record mechanical, the record mechanical, and the chorus mechanical are comparable with their EPS counterparts, except that the EPS has, you know, the battery that's in the shaft of the seat post. They offer that, and also the seat tube, depending on which one you go with for the EPS. So what I run on my bike is super record mechanical by choice. I have enough headaches with remembering to have my battery topped up on the Garmin that I have, and the last thing I needed was battery controlling my shifting. In the almost 3 decades that I've been riding, I've yet to have problems with cables breaking on me, you know, because I maintain my stuff. But in the last couple of years, I've ridden with people that, due to their own fault, their batteries have failed because they didn't charge them on rides. So it seems to be an issue. If you're somebody who can remember, fine. The other drawback is that when things break on the EPS, the front derailleur, very expensive. Whereas you can pay for these, you might pay maybe $100 and some bucks for like a super record derailleur. It's not uncommon to pay $300 to $400 for a front derailleur. You know, the prices change all the time, but their parts for EPS is high. Okay, so that's another thing to consider before you go into that. I have used it in a shop at a show where I've seen it. The only difference, it made a nice sound whoosh when it got onto the front derailleur. Did that require that I spend thousands more for that? Not my cup of tea. I'm a mechanical guy. I like the feel of it, and it just works for me. Doesn't mean they're not good. They're just different. And that's the same thing with the Shimano stuff. Now, I wanted to compare them before I show you how this works. I've ridden Shimano, not the most recent Dura-Ace stuff, but I used to race on Shimano, and I also use Campy. The best comparison I can give you, if you've ever driven a regular stick shift car, just any manufacturer, whether it's Toyota or whatever, and if you've ever driven a BMW, the best way I can describe it is BMW has a notchy feel. When you shift, clunk, it's in there. There is no question whether you're in gear or not. There are other cars that when you shift, you're not sure. I mean, I test drove an Audi once years ago, and it was in gear, but I wasn't sure. So the best way I can explain it is the shifting of Campy gives you a direct feel, very tactile, no question that the shift has occurred. When you click, it's like you feel it notch, and that thing just gets in there. I mean, you know, that's the best way. Whereas with Dura-Ace and even Ultegra, when you shift, it gets into place, but there is no notchy. It does not slot in. You don't feel that kaplunk. That's the best way I can explain it. You know, and I just love that notchy feel. Now, when I shift, man, that changes. Clunk, it's in there. No delay. You know, so the other guys have no delay as well, but you're not 100% sure. So from a preference standpoint, I just like that precise feel. And that's why I've stayed with Campy. They cost a little more, but man, they seem to spend a little more time on refining the stuff. It doesn't feel like it's mass produced. And that does something for me. So it's really just a matter of preference, but I do prefer the Campy. I think they work really well. Dura-Ace works great too when they're adjusted right. But the shifting is different. The feel, the tactile feel is different. Okay, so enough about that. So I'm going to summarize by saying, from the bottom, you've got Veloci and Campy. That's the entry level. It's 10 speed. You've got Athena. Athena is the entry level for 11 speed. Then after Athena, you have Potenza. Potenza is also 11 speed. Potenza is the first one that introduces a lot of carbon. Okay, Athena gives you carbon and aluminum offering, but Potenza just comes in carbon. And then you got chorus. Okay, chorus is very close to record in terms of that. Now, after chorus, you got record, you got super record. And chorus, record, and super records have EPS in their groups. And that's the hierarchy of it. As I said before, you go to my site, this will be on there, and you will have pictures and you will have more details about each of the things I'm talking about. So it's really worth the time for those of you who want more. After going through my blog, there will be no question as to what this stuff does, and you can decide which one's going to work for you, each of these groups. Now, what I was going to say was that when you go from Veloci, Athena, and you start going up to Potenza, to Carbon, you're going to go online and people will say, oh yeah, you can mix, match, and whatever. Been there, done that. Yes, you can mix, match, but there is a trade-off. I've tried a chorus freewheel that I bought off of eBay on record on one of my other bikes. It was noisier. It didn't shift the same. The chain seemed to rub. So no, if you got record, stay with all the record components, because yeah, they will work, but you're giving up something. So a lot of guys will buy chorus cassettes to train on. Yeah, it will work, but it's noisier and it just doesn't shift the same as your record. So I just ride my record stuff or all my super record stuff. They do not make a super record chain. They make a record chain. So I use a record chain with the super record group set. They make a super record cog set. On my site, I have the super details there. But on the super record, they have 6 titanium cogs on the super record cog set. I don't have a super record cog set because they don't wear very well. They wear out quickly. So I bought the record, because record and super record are so much closer than trying to use chorus with these guys. So entry level, Veloci, Athena. Performance group, Potenza, chorus. Professional group, pro category, the pro level components is record and super record. And if you mix and match among those, you stand a better chance of them working really well. Don't go too far across the groups with components and you'll be fine. Okay? So let me show you how this stuff works. Let me show you what they look like up close and how they function before I start actually doing them. So I'm going to bring the camera over here. And on my bike, I'm going to try to do it to where you can relate to what direction. So since we're opposite the bike, this is what I showed in the picture. Let me go down this way. This is the little shifter here that I showed in the picture. This is the one, this is for the right side. This is for my rear derailleur. This is the one that gives me harder gears, bigger gears. This is the one that gives me easier gears to go back up in the back. So as I shift this, I get harder gears. This is the one that I can shift one time, just push it, and it goes 5 cogs. This is the one I can bring in one time and it goes 3 cogs. On this side, on the left side of the bike, this is the one that goes to the small chain. This takes me down to the small chain ring. This one here, right here. Let me see if this side, yeah. It's probably hard for you to see right there. That takes it to the big chain ring. This does not move. On Dura-Ace and stuff, they use this to shift and this one to shift. Campy does not use this. This is just a brake lever. Campy uses the inside one to go to the big chain ring and the little one to go to the small chain ring. The brake lever is not part of the shifting like Dura-Ace and them. Dura-Ace and them will use the brake lever to put to the big chain ring and then the small lever here to go down, because Dura-Ace does not have this. Neither does SRAM. They use these 2 levels for shifting as well as braking. Campy does not. This is only for braking. This is for shifting, and this is for shifting. Same thing on that side. The big lever is only the brake lever. Okay, so here, that's only the brake lever. The shift lever, let me go to this side. You probably see it better. The shift lever is this. That gives me easier gears. And now this little one gives me harder gear. I love it because I can be in the drops and just reach it like that. You can see my hand in the drops, my thumb just right there. When you have them adjusted correctly, you have no trouble reaching them. So let me go ahead and do a wide angle view and show you how they work. Okay, there we go. So that's pretty much. Now, So you can see it's on the big chainring right here. And this will put it on the small chainring, the opposite one, that little one. I'm going to push it down, all the way down. And you can see it just dropped. And that keeps it. You don't need to trim these gears. Campy, since 2015, you don't need to trim. When you shift, the front derailleur is in the perfect spot, regardless of what gear you're riding. You never need to trim. It's only as good as the person who adjusts it, because this needs to be parallel to the chain ring. So I'm gonna click, and it's gonna go out in the back. Now to go to an easier gear, I go like this, and it moves up. Okay, that's on the right side. Now to shift to the big chain ring, the inside lever I was talking about, that little one, like this, 3 clicks. And you can see I'm not even holding it, and it got on the gear. When it's adjusted, this bad boy just works. So now it's on the big chain ring. No need to trim. It's on the big chain ring. It's going to just stay there. Now in the back, as I shift on the inside here, I'm just going to click it. It just goes to a harder gear. Now if I want to go all the way down, I just push it and it goes. So what I'm going to do next is just walk you guys through so you can see the components. Okay. This is the front mech. I mean, it's nothing unusual. It works just like the other derailleurs out there. There's one bolt on there, and this cable is actually kind of at an angle to keep it nice and tight. But the mech itself is very simple. This is the rear derailleur. All carbon. This is super record, so it's all carbon. This is top of the line. The only difference, it doesn't have the EPS battery stuff on there, and I'm not into that for my shifters. This is the crank arm. I ride 175s. This is the crank set, and that's the 4-arm spider that came out with in 2015. This is not compatible with anything earlier than 2015. The shifting and everything, they don't recommend that you mix and match with the earlier groups. So it's all carbon, and this is the ultra torque. So I have a bolt in there that takes 42 Newton meters, and you have to use a special tool. It basically takes a 10 millimeter tool. I have the Campy tool, but I'm just going to show you just any 10 millimeter bolt, and you have to put it in there. And now it's reverse threaded, so you tighten to loosen and loosen to tighten. They only do that in the Super Record. Record and the other ones is regular threaded on this side. The left side is regular threaded. I'm not sure why they did that on just Super Record, but that's what they did. That's one of their little quirks. They use the dual pivot brakes. That's what I have on here. They do offer single pivot brakes on the rear if you choose to. I just got dual pivot for both front and rear. And they offer that throughout the line. In fact, Campy started offering direct drive brakes last year, 2016. If your bike is set up for it, because it has two holes. It does not connect to the middle here. It connects to the 2 stays here. And so supposedly it makes the modulation stiffer and so forth. So, but if your bike's not set up for it, then it's not something you can accommodate. The gears I use, this one here is a 3652. It came with a 3953, but I recently changed it, like I believe late fall last year. I changed it to a 3652 because we started riding in an area west of here that has more than 8% grades, and they go more than a mile. So I was finding that I was just struggling too much with the 25 I had in the back. So I got a 1228 is what I use on the rear. That's 11 speed. And the only thing I give up is the 18 that I have on the 1225, because I like having my 16, 15, all those gears. I use them a lot around here. So I have a 1228. I did not go with the 11 because I didn't want to lose my 16, because the 1128 you lose your 16. So I didn't want to do that just to be having an 11 cog, which I don't use. I hardly use the 12 anyway. So that coupled with my 3652, which is a mid compact, will get me over even 10% stuff or more. So I'm not that worried about it. Now, I did not get the full compact because around here, I would spend all the time in the 50. The 34 is just too small. You know, I'd much rather have a 34 in the back. And I probably have to get a long cage derailleur to accommodate that, but that's how low that is. My other two bikes have also the same Campy Super record, and I use a 3953 on there. In fact, I kept the 3953 that I took off of here is in my parts bin. The 3953 around here, where we have 4 to 8% grades, that's fine. I have no trouble getting over those things comfortably. So they work for me. I just wanted one bike to have the 36 on there and the 52. So when I'm riding this bike with the 52 is so close to the 53, I don't really feel like I've changed the big chainring. You know, it's not that much of a difference, just slightly. And since I like to spin, it works out anyway, to having a 52 versus a 53. It's close enough to where I don't know. But you cannot just start getting crazy and say, oh, I'm gonna put a 34 in here and then go to a 52. When you have too much of a gap, your shifting suffers from big to small chain, and you can drop chains more. So you gotta stay. That's why they have a 3652. There is a certain range where if you go too far between the inner chain ring and the big chain ring, you have all kinds of problems with chain drops. And some people, to accommodate, to make up for that, put chain catchers on their frame. I didn't want to get into all of that. There's no reason for that. So I ride this bike once in a while. Most of the time I ride 3953. That's what I use. Okay. So I think I've covered everything pretty much. So leave your comments and questions below and let me know if there's anything else that I may have missed or whatever, and I can answer your questions. But you need to go to the site where I'm going to put the link in the description and read up, because I've got the entire Grupo on there. So what I want to summarize on is to let you know that at the higher levels, when you start coming to record and super record, a lot of campy guys do not consider record to directly compete with Dura Ace. They feel that chorus competes with Dura Ace, as if it's a record and super record. And it's more of a cult thing, you know, because super record supposedly has ceramic bearings in there. You know, I can't tell the difference between that and the regular one, but it came with super record. I got a good deal on it. I sourced my own parts online, and so it's fine. But I wouldn't go out of my way to get something because of ceramic bearings. Now, don't get me wrong. I've ridden record for many years. I used to own record 10. And in fact, it was still valuable when I sold it. People bought them off of eBay. I mentioned that in another video. I've ridden Chorus a long time ago. They don't operate the same. It's kind of like you buy a Corolla, and then Toyota Corolla, then you buy a Camry, and then I think Toyota makes Lexus. Lexus is more luxurious. It's the same thing. As you go up through the grades, they just function better. They're just more precise. That's why they call these record and super record pro level. You know, it just works. They're easy to work on. You take care of them, they last years, and they're fully serviceable. You can take the shifters completely apart. They'll sell you the little pieces that go in there. I've serviced my 10-speed. In fact, a lot of campy fans believe that 10-speed is easier to service than the 11-speed. That's what they believe. You know, 11-speed is still the new kid on the block. But campies have always been easy to service. If you're meticulous enough, you can keep up with it. So I prefer campy by choice, but it doesn't mean that Dura Ace is a dog. No, it's a matter of just personal preference. You know, having ridden the two, I would take campy any day of the week. I just like the way they work. And I ride the mechanical because I prefer the feel of the mechanical. You know, if somebody gave me the EPS free, I'd sell it and get a mechanical. And I just wanted to state that so you know. I love the way the mechanical feels, and I don't care to go to the EPS stuff. So other than that, I want to close and just let you guys know that for 69 Slim, if you're trying to consider going to 105 from Tiagra, your reason should be, okay, is Tiagra not working for me, or do I just want a new group set? Do I want to just go and try the new group set? So when you say, is it necessary? Nothing's really necessary unless Tiagra has broken And then you say, okay, I have the budget to buy 105 or Ultegra or whatever. But if you have the budget, I would suggest that you look at Ultegra, because value-wise, since you already own Shimano, that's the bang for the buck. Because Ultegra borrows more from Dura-Ace than they give to 105. Not that 105 is bad, but 105 is here, Ultegra is here for a reason. So if you can scrape up the few extra dollars between the difference and get Ultegra, you will be just basically hedging against obsolescence. It's so much better than 105. And then Dura-Ace is so much better than Ultegra. But Ultegra has enough from Dura-Ace that, well, depending on budget and what you want to spend, but then you got to look at, okay, what I had Tiagra on this bike. Do I want to put an expensive group set on here? Or do I want to, if Tiagra is working for you, why bother? Maybe you can do 105 or Ultegra when you get your next bike. It's just something to think about, So it's hard to say. I can't answer for you whether it's necessary. If what you have is working well, then it's not necessary, because the group set doesn't make you faster. It's just nicer. It's kind of like, I still have a certain kind of driving skills. I happen to be one of these guys who's into driving. I've been to driving schools or whatever. But whether I'm sitting behind the wheel of a BMW or Ferrari or Lamborghini, whatever, it's still my driving skills that's going to get that car around if it's at a track or whatever. Depending on my skills, I still probably won't be able to get the maximum out of it versus somebody who is better at it, who has better skills. So really, same thing with cycling. The key is your engine. So if you have the budget to get nicer shifters, yeah, they're going to enhance the experience, but it's not going to make you faster, So yeah, so that's the best way I can put it, okay? So with that being said, be cool, be safe, and don't let anything stop you. Get out there.